to the solution. But it's a problem with members. They always find these funny ways to get out of problems.
Members have got no problem.
So they came up with such a useless saying.
Daddy, I keep it inside of me. Yeah, I keep it inside. It's killing the man in me. Yeah, it's killing the man. Keep it inside, I keep it inside of me. Yeah, I keep it.
Welcome to yet another episode of the Crisis of Manhood podcast with me, your host, Peter Mukuka. Well, today we'll be looking at a very interesting topic, and that is how can we use art to promote positive manhood? And for this conversation, I'm joined by someone that needs no introduction, someone that has been in the art space for a very, very long time. I think more than 20 years now, more than 25 years actually. Yeah. And this is none other than Mr. Henry Joe Sakala. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's really exciting for me because I'm actually meeting you, we are actually meeting for the first time,
yes,
right?
We are. But we're friends on
Facebook.
On Facebook,
yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah. And I think that has a history. I think I've really been following your work for a long time, since I was maybe in junior secondary school.
Okay.
What was I can't remember the first film I watched, but maybe one of them is the short film Guns and Rings.
Yes.
Do you still remember about it?
Yes, it was 2005.
2005.
Yes.
I was in grade probably 10.
Okay.
Somewhere there. Okay. Yeah. But what an interesting movie, short film. What was going on in your? Can you remember what was going on for you too?
Yes, I still remember the Guns and Rings was an interesting project because there was no script that was written, and there was in the film. If you notice, there was no dialogue.
Yeah,
it's just action and silence. So the idea just popped up when I was walking to the office one day to movie TV, and the idea just came up like, how do you tell this story, this situation in a short space of time, with no dialogue. I think I wanted to just have maybe one line, but when I presented the idea to my older brother, who was the director, I said, let's just remove all the dialogue and just make it action.
Yeah.
So that's how it was.
It's very interesting.
It was shot in a day.
Wow.
Very interesting. If you watch it, you think it was shot in one location, but there were maybe 3 locations.
Wow.
But within the same vicinity. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a very good experience for us to work on that project. I remember those days. There was what we used to call guerrilla filmmaking. So I think that was a very good course in guerrilla filmmaking. So I called my best friend Yombwe. Then the girl that was supposed to play the role there was busy, so Yombwe called his cousin. And then we used my parents' house to shoot it. So we just spent a night, maybe 5 hours of shooting,
and it got the airwaves.
And then it was well received.
Yeah, wow. I like the fact that in there you see a lot of like the different aspects of manhood, because there are 2 men involved there, and there's an issue of love. What was going on in your mind there? Around men relationships and women.
I think the idea in terms of men and their emotions was not really the main focus in the film. I think our main focus was just to play around with how couples respond to such situations as infidelity. And I think if you see in the film, the man is not ready to reconcile or to speak about it with the woman, and he's already made up his mind with what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And I think which is what most men do when it's in such situations. I'm told that men don't handle infidelity well.
Yeah.
So he's just made up his mind to go, and the solution mostly for men is violence.
Yeah.
So yeah. And so so that was the idea, just to expose that it may not be the best solution in that situation, but dialogue is, especially that when you get married, you make vows. So that's why we had the rings there, and any conflict or any problem that you have, you need to resolve it between the two of you. But if you involve a third party, or if you bring in, you become too violent, or you bring in the gun, then the ultimate conclusion may not be what you've been looking for. And so in the film, we see how it all ends up with the woman losing both men, and the man losing his life.
And I see that is something that is very common in our culture, especially. Men really struggle to take issues of infidelity. So I mean, most times it becomes violent, and as we can see in the film. But there's a saying actually.
Something like that.
So it's like, if it's the woman, it becomes a big problem. Like if it's a man, it's like, it's men are like that.
Which shouldn't be the case anyway. I think issues of love and emotions between two people, we can't really say no, this one is better than the other one. In our situation, in our Zambian culture, I think it's something that we really need to really talk about, and to change the narrative, because I think what we need to promote a lot is dialogue between people, between couples.
Absolutely.
And not to judge and say, no, this one handles it better than the other one. No, when this one does it, it's not wrong. When the other one does it, that's when it's wrong. I think that's a wrong approach to the solution. But it's a problem with members. They always find these funny ways to get out of problems. So they came up with such a useless saying.
Well, it's not us, the members, who are married to women. It's the nguzus. So maybe moving on, as we are speaking, we're focusing on how art can influence behaviors. And I know there's a lot that goes on in your mind when you're scripting, you're coming up with the film and stuff like that. How do you see literature and film can shape society's understanding of manhood?
Okay, so I think literature is a very important tool. It's just a pity that in Africa per se, or maybe you can narrow it down to Zambia, to our context, is that literature is only seen as something that you read. But that's something that sometimes I question and say, maybe literature is also something that you speak. And in our African tradition, I think that's how we preserved our literature, is passing it on, by word of mouth. So the books, so to say, were passed on from one person to the other. But I think we've narrowed it so much with the adoption of the Western style of things into books. So we view literature as a book. But for me, I'd like to view it as, even the oral side of it. And so when we tell stories, we can help to build aspects of manhood through stories, by just the way we tell our stories as writers. I think it's our responsibility to dig deep into what manhood is, and move away from the stereotype. The stereotypical man is a man who uses force to get his way. Man who uses his strength a man who uses violence sometimes to get his way. A man is viewed as somebody who never fails, a man who never cries, somebody who never cries, who is not emotional, and all that. When we're growing up, we used to fear our fathers so much. When you see your father, even run away.
They even gave them nicknames.
Yes, very funny nicknames. Yeah. But I think as literature can help to change that image of the man through how we portray the man. I think men also have spaces where they are emotional, where they are vulnerable, where they cry. So if we have more stories that dig deep into the emotional side of the man, then we'll be, doing a good job in terms of literature. So through characters in the books of men, that we can show how a man thinks when they are in their weak position. So we dig deep into that. So we run away from the stereotype of just the man is the hero, he is the conqueror, is the warrior. Even in traditional stories, the man is the warrior. So maybe we could try and retell those stories and make the man more reason with wisdom and things like that. Even films, for example, can give us an opportunity to see through the characters. We can see a man crying in the movie, and we can accept it by the way we just create that character. Whether it was books, same thing. So literature can really play a big role in changing the narrative or the stereotype of manhood.
And I think I'm reminded of back then when I was growing up. I think by then we were exposed to movies like Rambo, Drunken Master, all these movies, and there was a lot of violence. This is action movie, so there's violence, there's guns, and all that. And you would see boys like myself, when you're on the street, you're playing with your friends and all that, you're kicking each other, punches and guns and stuff like that. So I think that gives a picture to say that, art carries a lot of power. In whichever form it is, it carries a lot of power in shaping behavior. And so maybe my next question would be, how do you see that Africa or Zambia in particular, we are doing enough to change this narrative and see to it that we are promoting positivity, especially around manhood?
Well, I'm sure there's still a lot of work to be done, but I think there are strides towards changing that narrative through a lot of productions that we've seen done, especially by the young creatives that are building their careers. I think some of their productions, if you watch them or if you read their books, you can tell that they really spend a lot of time in building characters, male characters that are not just black and white, running away from the usual Rambo, Schwarzenegger type of characters. I think we are seeing that drive towards characters that are more dimensional. I think even in Hollywood at some point they started running away from the macho heroes in their movies. If you look back in history, Hollywood started producing films like Die Hard, for example, which had a hero who was not a muscle man, who was very far away from the Rambo type of hero. So this was just an ordinary policeman, family man, going through a divorce, who just finds himself fighting against terrorists. And that, the audience related more with that character than the Rambo characters. And you saw that, several movies now started having characters like the Bruce Willis character in Die Hard. To this day now, nobody cares about muscles for the hero of the movie. So there's that drive towards building characters that are not just too manly.
So, like when you talk of the challenges that we're facing today as men, what would be what do you see would be some of the key challenges that the boy child is facing in terms of being able to transition into a responsible adult man?
Well, there are quite a lot of challenges. First of all, it's traditional. It's a cultural thing, or maybe we could call it a cultural thing, that the man is the provider, right? And even in relationships these days, we see, even on social media, how some women relate in relationships where they say, whatever income the man makes belongs to the woman, and whatever the woman makes belongs to the woman. So there's no that shared responsibility. So there's a lot of responsibility that is put on the man as you are growing up into society. The moment you leave your high school, you start facing all these challenges. But I think that culturally there should be also some time spent on preparing the young men to face the world in the corporate world, in the family situation, and there'll be other challenges that they face. I think there's need for that preparation, because truly you will be the responsible and the responsible person and the provider for your family. So you can't run away from that responsibility. But if you're not aware of those responsibilities, then you find young men getting married, and 6 months later they're running away from marriages because they didn't anticipate that responsibility lumped on them. The women are much more prepared than the men to this day. I don't know why we haven't changed that situation. So I think we need to change that. But also schools can also help in preparing the man for the future. Because I think the roles also, we shouldn't run away from the roles of a man and of a woman. I think that's why we're seeing so many problems around in the world, where we have tried to say, no, the man and the woman are equal. I think the explanation is not really clear, and may be misunderstood. But I think the roles, even when you look at animals, or maybe I can give an example of chickens, you can tell the roles of the male and the female. So the men should also not run away from their responsibilities, that they are the providers of the family, and they need to work and provide. But if we start saying, it's 50-50, so the man will be expecting the woman to also contribute. In the end, you find men just lazing around because the woman will provide. But the man must be the provider. And that must be instilled in the men from the time they are young and until they get into adulthood. So through schools, through the family, through our cultural and traditional setups, just the same way we prepare the women to be the mothers and the caregivers of the family. We really prepare them very well as compared to the men.
So how do you see now, based on what you have explained, how do you see is then the role of a father in raising a boy child into a responsible adult man?
So if the father has this background that I've talked about, if the father was also well raised, I think he'll be able also to raise his children very well, and to really explain to them what is expected of them, be it a woman, a girl, or a boy. Not to run away from their roles. So a well-baked father will be well prepared to prepare his children as well. And I think the key is for fathers to be able to communicate with their children freely about any issue. I think you need to build trust between yourself as a father and your children. The same way we trust when we pray to God and we're expecting a prayer answered. The same way we have that relationship with the Most High. I think that bond, that strong bond, should be the same with your children. The children should be able to come to you if they have problems, they have challenges in life, they need somebody to talk to, they need counseling, they need food, they need shelter. They should look up to you as the father. And you should be able to to provide, and not just create a boundary or something. We've seen that most parents don't really have strong relationships with their children, especially in our generation. And I don't know why there was that gap. But now I think the opportunities to build strong relationships with our children are there, with whatever changes have happened in the world. There's this technology that you can use. If your child grows up and moves away from your home, nowadays you can still maintain communication with your child because the phones can easily provide that through messaging, WhatsApp, video calling, and all that, which were not available a long time ago. Back in the day, if your father retires and goes to the village and you remain in town, you'll be seeing each other maybe once a year, once in 2 years, and all that. But that can be changed now. Although we are still seeing that if you don't build your relationship with your children, you'll still be facing those challenges.
And I think it has to be intentional for the fathers out there, because we see that even the young boys that we work with Men of Honor, we see that when we ask them questions like, if you have a difficult issue, maybe something to do with your sexuality, or something private, who do you talk to? And say, maybe your uncle, but then their dads are there. So also it's because some of the fathers have not made it intentional to have these difficult conversations with their boys, with their sons, which makes it then very difficult for them to go back to them and speak to them. That's why we see that these young boys now are going into negative vices, because they're looking for a space where they can find acceptance, where they can find validation and all that. And so when they get into a gang, there's a group of fellow young boys and they're like, oh, come here, you're a brother, ABCD, and they get into all these negative things. And that is why I'm happy that you're talking about the importance of men taking a step to engage with their sons, to have these conversations and to help them build that, those relationships. I know you've done a lot of work, so many books that you've done. One of them is Tales of Chiparamba. I think
it was a book. I published it, but it was written
Somebody
by
else.
my father.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, okay. So, have you ever created any whether it's in movies or in the books, a positive male character that you can point at? Any example?
Yeah, I think most of the characters that I have in my stories have some kind of positivity about them. But one that comes to mind now is a character from a TV series called Utuku, which was aired on ZNBC. There was a character there called Javan. Yeah, so this is a very interesting character because he starts off as an abuser. He beats up his wife. He's a violent guy because of his past, and he's got a daughter who sees him abusing the mother. Yeah, so the mother at some point can't take the abuse anymore and leaves him with the daughter. And that's where it gets interesting, because now he needs to start learning to build a relationship between him and the daughter, and to raise the daughter by himself. And so he realizes that he needs to start communicating with the child, because now he's the only person she has to talk to. And so he begins to realize that her demands are special. So it was airing on ZMBC, and we really pushed it to really expose this situation between a father and a daughter. So in Mutuku, Jaban deals with issues related to menstruation, related to boyfriends that the daughter is experiencing. So it's interesting because the daughter didn't have a strong relationship with the father, so she was finding it difficult even to ask him for money for pads, for example. Yeah, so we really handled that difficult subject in that series, and I think it was well received. And I think these are some of the issues that need to be discussed, issues that we feel shy to talk about regarding how to raise a girl, for example. These are issues that we really need to start discussing in our dramas, even if they are fiction, but we need to bring up those issues. These are matters that can help us to build a generation that is responsible, a generation that is able to communicate with the parents. Similarly, even with sons, same thing. If the relationship is not strong, then your son will look elsewhere for information, and there's a lot of misinformation these days on social media.
Yeah, I think every generation has its own challenges, because now, because of the media, social media to be specific, the movies and all that, we're seeing that even these boys are picking certain things from those things, and even just the music. It's when you look at most of the music videos that you see, maybe it's hip hop, you'll see a man sitting there's a table full of drugs, there's alcohol, and then there's women all over the place, and the money somewhere. And so these young minds, they cannot differentiate there what's right and what's wrong. And they're like, oh, maybe that's the way, that's, being a man. So in your work, do you take deliberate steps in ensuring that you're passing on a message that is, helping society to be better, especially since we're focusing on boys and men here?
Yeah, I think the majority of productions that I do always have a message. I feel that it's our responsibility as creatives to really take up that role, to not just entertain, but to educate and inform. So I can talk about a series called Tikula, which is produced by Media 365. But I work there as a writer and a story development lead. So this is a series very challenging in the beginning, because it's a series that handles issues related to girls. And being a man, it was quite challenging in the beginning to really understand what issues that young girls, teen girls go through. Always a challenge when developing the story, because as a man, you are writing your story.
Different territory.
Yes, your angle is always boys, and then your boss reminds you are writing this for girls. So it's different. So the way you handle a girl and the way you handle a boy is quite different. And I think we, as creatives, we need to realize that. And most of my plays talk about. I love to talk about gender-based violence from all sides, either perpetuated by women, because even women sometimes are violent towards men. And we never shy away from telling that story as well, and as well as the usual perpetrated by the men. So yeah, it's a responsibility that we have to really educate and inform. But sometimes also we also need to be careful as creatives, and I think our industry, since it's just growing, there are certain things that we need to put in place as well. That certain content is not really meant for certain age groups. Okay, and I think we haven't really worked on that to really censor the work and categorize it for this is for adults. You mentioned music, so music, everyone now can access it.
Yeah.
Whether I'm underage, I'll have access. It's easy to access it. As long as I have a Spotify account or I'm able to access YouTube as a child, I will have access to all these explicit music, explicit videos. But there has to be that censorship. It's good to protect the young people, but it's also good for us as creatives also not to shy away from telling stories that are targeted at adults. There's a story I was writing which had characters that were, using vulgar language, but because that's the character I'm trying to build. Yeah, but the problem is, I don't know, this story might be accessed by a child who is not supposed to access it. Yeah, so we need, I think, those systems to censor and to block access from our young boys, because that content is also needed for that audience.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think also it's just like that's what it is right now. So there are people who are into those things, so you have to give the picture the way it is.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's about, I don't know, and it's really difficult to manage accessibility.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
We complain when the authorities start to censor, but I think it's necessary.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah. So what would you tell a young upcoming creative, especially those that are focusing on content for focusing on boys and men?
I think the biggest thing is that you need to appreciate the beauty and the elements of a good story, because I think whatever we do, at the end of the day, we're just telling stories. Even our life is a story, isn't it? Yeah, so I think for starters, one needs to really understand how to tell a good story, and then everything else will fall in place. Because also, if you focus so much on preaching the message, the audience easily get bored and they get put off if you're preaching to them too much. Yeah, so but everybody appreciates a good story. Yeah, so the strength lies in you telling strong, good stories, and then the messages can be fused in here and there, and I think you'll be a success. I've seen a content creator who does very good comedy. So the comedy attracts us to the platform. So if there's a message that they want to tell us, then they can easily, subtly slide it in there, and we'll be able to get the message. But if we are preaching, then we'd rather go to church and get the word. So story is very important.
Absolutely. Have you ever created content in whichever form that touched on your personal life?
There was a play called The Last Steps. It's a play that has only two characters, but they play different roles as the play progresses. So yeah, I think there's a bit of me in that play. One of the characters has a bit of my background in it. I grew up in Kitwe, and this character also grew up in Kitwe, and some of the things that the character experiences are things that I experienced also as a young person growing up on the copper belt. Yeah, so I think maybe that might not even be the only one. I think every piece of work that I do, every piece of story, somehow will have a piece of me somewhere in there. If it's not directly me, then it should be a relative or a friend or a neighbor, a classmate or whatever. So we build characters from people around us.
Yeah, we like to joke with Joseph is actually an artist. Our cameraman is a music artist, so we like to joke that if you're friends with an artist or a creative, you should be very careful because the next time you see yourself in there.
Yeah, of course, you see yourself. There's a friend of mine who, in Brothers, there was a character that I can't remember. So we had a discussion, and then he watched the show and said, "But weren't we discussing this thing the other day?" I said,
I didn't mention your name. Yeah. So before I let you go, this interesting question for you. So if you were to create a single piece, maybe a film, a book, that defines manhood for the next generation for African boys, what would you title it and why?
Yeah, it would have several. Maybe one I can settle for would be kindness. Kindness. And I'll choose that title because I think as a man, since we're talking about men, you are viewed from different angles by the people that you interact with, and depending on your position in society. So if you're an influential person, a role model, if you're a leader, people will look at you from different angles. Some will look at you as a good person, others will look at you as a bad person. Okay, but in everything that we do, we should always be kind. Not only to our families or to people that we know, even to strangers. We should spread kindness and love. I think that will make us better men. And be kind, not expecting anything in return. I think that is the best type of kindness that you can ever offer to your neighbor or to your fellow man or woman. So whatever you do, people have been called witches in our neighborhoods, but this is a very kind person. But everybody thinks English.
Yeah.
So kindness is very powerful, and I think we should embrace it.
Wow.
We'll change the world.
At least make a difference. At least in our own ways, right? Yeah, I think that's wisdom there. About being looked at different angles, there's sometimes, and it's interesting that other people would carry other people's grudges.
Of course.
But sometimes when you interact with a person that everybody has been saying that this person is very nice person. Yeah, well, time really flies. But before I let you go, Mr. Sakala, what does positive manhood look like to you?
Positive manhood. I think from what we've discussed, we can pick a few things. Understanding your role. I think for the young generation, I think for me, it's there's so much happening around them that sometimes they miss what the role of a man is. Yeah. So I think that's what positive manhood should be for me, is for a man to understand what their role is. And we spoke about it. The man is the provider. The man should be the one to work. If I'm working, if I have a family, the man should take the lead to work and to provide for the family. And shut your ears from all this whatever goes around about equality with women and whatever and all that. Just take up your responsibility. That you are the provider and the protector, all that of your family, and the counselor of your family, the person that should be raising your children, building that relationship with your children. And not only that, a man is a conqueror. What do we mean? The man should be able to conquer, and whatever he conquers is for the benefit not only of his family. So it starts from the family, but then the man should also go out there and conquer the country, the world, for the benefit of society. So it starts from that small unit and blows up into the rest. But the man must always take the lead. He's the man, let's shut our ears from all this talk that goes around. Sometimes it makes us lose our responsibility as men. Yeah.
Well, thank you for those words of wisdom. Is there, even before we close, is there any whether it's a book that you've done, whether it's a film that you would recommend for a man out there, maybe is struggling with identity or anything really that's around manhood that you would recommend, and where they can find it?
If you can look for a book called Sister Wives, it's an anthology, a collection of short stories that was produced by Miambo Writers Cooperative. There's a short story of mine there called Silence, which pretty much talks about what we've been discussing today about the responsibility of men. So it's a story about a girl who runs away from home and then somehow meets this man who is also kind of running away from life somewhere. And so they meet, and the man takes the lead in helping this runaway child. So I think that would be a good recommendation for now.
Okay. And it can be found?
You can find the book in Book World, the National Museum. If you're in Livingstone, you can find it at the Livingstone Museum as well. Yeah, I think it's dotted wherever there's Book World. You can order the book.
All right. And I know some of your books are actually on Amazon, right?
Yes, and also on Amazon. The same book is also on Amazon. If you are into Kindle reading and all that, you can find it on Amazon.
Right. Well, thank you so much. We have to come to an end of our show. Thank you for joining us. And to our viewers, thank you for following this conversation. This has been the Crisis of Manhood, and we were joined by Mr. Henry Joe Sakala, who comes with a wealth of knowledge in art, different forms of art, whatever you can think of. Yeah, so join us next time. And if this content has been helpful to you, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and share in your circles. Until next time, it's bye-bye.
I keep it inside of me. Yeah, I keep it inside. It's killing the man in me. Yeah, it's killing the man. Keep it inside, I keep it inside of me. Yeah, I keep it